You're listening to international investment advisor Doug Goldstein on the Goldstein on Gelt Show, the financial show where we'll talk about how you can make the most of your money. With all the confusing financial chatter bombarding you each and every day, Goldstein on Gelt will give you the practical information you want and need about living a financially stable life. Here's your host, money maven Doug Goldstein.
Okay, we are back. I'm very happy to welcome back to the Goldstein on Gelt show, Diane Lang. If you missed her the first time, be sure to download the podcast at goldsteinongelt.com, or else go to YouTube and simply look up Goldstein on Gelt, and there you'll find Diane. Diane's a therapist, a psychologist. She's written a couple of books, Creating Balance and Finding Happiness, as well as a book called Baby Steps, The Path from Motherhood to Career. Diane, a real pleasure to have you back.
Thank you for having me back again. I really enjoyed the first time, and I'm excited to be here again, so thank you.
Last time you were giving us some fabulous clues about how to deal with children and helping them to understand, especially when you're in a stressful financial situation. Some of the good ideas that you told us were that it's critical actually just to speak to your children and communicate to them the problems, to put yourself in their shoes so you can see how they're feeling, and just to be a good role model, not to run around in a panic. So I like that idea very much. Now I'd like to talk to you about people who are a little bit older when they're getting into retirement, because I personally spend a great deal of time there as a financial advisor helping people plan the money for their retirement, but you help them plan psychologically. How do you do that?
Well, there are a few issues that people go through when they hit their greatest and last stage of life, which is retirement, or the end-of-life phase, they call it. And there's three main concerns. The first one is financial, which you handle, and definitely not my specialty. The second one is health worries. People who are retiring are known to spend a lot of money on their health care, between Medicare, Medicaid, and then having supplemental health insurance. And what happens is we can prevent a lot of that, which we'll discuss later. And then the third concern is, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? My purpose and my identity was either my job, or if I was a stay-at-home mom, it was my kids, and now I'm going through empty nest. What am I going to do? Am I going to feel challenged? Am I going to feel satisfied with my life? And am I going to even have the same relationship with my spouse or partner? Because a lot of times when you work, we know working full-time now could be 60 hours plus, because we're never really off anymore between texting, email, cell phones, and we also have a larger commute. Most people travel here in the States at least an hour each way due to the mileage or due to traffic. So now you have all this time that was spent at work, spent at home, the kids are gone. What are we even going to talk about? Are we going to have anything in common? And those are the real fears that people have about retiring. So I don't cover the financial issues. We leave that to people like you, because that's definitely your specialty. But I deal with a little bit about the health worries, and also how do I handle my new identity and purpose going into my next phase. And again, you want to start this years before you retire. You don't want to retire whether you retire at 60, 65, or 70 and say, okay, now what do I do? You want to kind of deal with this at least 5 years beforehand. When I deal with people who are going to retire, we start working together sometimes 5 to 10 years beforehand, so we can have a lot of preventative, and they can work themselves into their next phase of life and already feel secure to know this is what I'm going to do. I feel healthy. I feel good. As well as when they work with you, they probably do the same thing with retirement, setting up their 401s, IRAs, so they feel prepared when they, retire and move on to their next phase.
It reminds me of a conversation I had not so long ago with a couple. The husband was well into his 70s and still working quite vigorously. And they were very, very wealthy, and I suggested that they could consider retiring. And his wife looked in shock at me, and she said, Douglas, she said, I married him for better or for worse, but not for lunch.
That's funny. I like that. But it's true. That is a really big fear that, what are we going to have in common? What are we going to talk about? And, they go through a honeymoon phase when you retire. You decide, we retired, let's go on vacation, let's go travel. But after that's done, what do you do? And, some of the big concerns is socialization, because a lot of times your socialization is involved in your work. You have a lot of work friends. You go out afterwards with your work friends, your coworkers. But now what are you going to do if you take that whole part of your life out? Your socialization might be gone, your identity, your purpose. Now what do I do? It's a big, big fear. So even if you're financially secure, you have other things to consider.
Yeah, you're scaring me a little bit. So
I'm sorry.
Okay, so give me a couple of ideas.
Scares me when I talk about it.
Yeah, now I'm getting worried. First off, I work with my wife, so we're together all day, every day, and we're very happy about that. But I know that's a very special case. Not everyone can do that. So I presume
It's a very special case.
I presume when we retire, it'll be okay because we'll be used to spending, all day together anyway, and I look forward to that. However, for people who are not in that situation, what are a couple of ideas you can tell someone for how he should begin to envision his retirement, or actually, take steps so that it'll be successful?
Well, one of the things I always say is talk to your partner and spouse a few years before retirement to make sure that you have the same vision. I had a couple who the husband came in and said, I can't wait till we retire. We're going to go travel. I'm going to, sell the house. We're going to get an RV and see the whole United States. The wife was like, what are you talking about? I don't even want to retire yet. I don't want to travel. And they weren't on the same page. So I always suggest to do some type of vision board where you either write down what your vision is of retirement, you make pictures, you draw it, whatever you want to do, but make sure the vision is the same. And also a lot of people's vision for retirement is not full retirement. Being that I teach college, I see a lot of people retire from their tenure position but still continue teaching as an adjunct because they love teaching, or they still continue writing books. So thinking about, am I fully going to retire from my position now? Am I going to go into part-time? Or am I going to retire from one position, but yet I still want to have a different position, but maybe now I want it to be nonprofit. Maybe I want to start my own business. And is this something that my spouse or partner really is on board with? Because if you're not in the same vision, that's going to cause problems. So really trying to figure that out is the first step, as if you're married and have a partnership while retiring. If you're single, that might be different. But for couples retiring, that's definitely something you want to really work on way before you retire. So this way you can plan on having the same type of retirement and the same type of activities when you retire.
And doing that together. We are talking to Diane Lang. She's a therapist and adjunct professor of psychology and author of 2 books, Creating Balance and Finding Happiness, and Baby Steps, The Path from Motherhood to Career. Diane's been on the Goldstein on Gelt show before. If you missed the previous interviews, be sure to download them at goldsteinongelt.com, or simply go to YouTube, look up Goldstein on Gelt, and you'll find the video of the interview there, as all of our interviews are there. It's funny you spoke about what people do later in life, and you mentioned being a college teacher, and I was reminded of my own grandmother, who in her 80s decided that it was time she finished her degree, and she went back to Queens College to get a degree in Italian. I think she was probably the oldest kid in the class, but she would put on her jeans and she would carry her knapsack, and she said it wasn't fair because a lot of the kids came from Italian families, and she grew up speaking Yiddish. But
I had a student a few years ago who came back for his degree because he said he always wanted to get it. It was a dream of his, and he was in his 70s. And all the kids loved him, though. I mean, he was the cutest. Everybody would stay around him, help him carry his books, go to lunch with him. It was such a good experience. And we were all so proud of him when he graduated.
Yeah, I think that was he must have, very, very much like the stories I heard from my grandmother. In fact, my real job is that I'm a financial advisor. I started in the business at in the Twin Towers where I used to work. I used to be partners with my mother, who was a vice president at Morgan Stanley at Dean Witter for about 17 years. And my mother's mother, my grandmother, was one of the first women to be licensed as a stockbroker in America.
Wow.
So we've been involved. A lot of times I talk to people who are in some form or another a therapist or a psychologist, or they talk about the importance of communication. And
right.
I'm beginning to worry that that's like a word that we throw around. It sounds so easy. You say to someone who's been married for 15, 20, 30 years, maybe you're not communicating well with your spouse, or one spouse feels that he or she is not communicating well with the other, yet they have no history of doing this. How do people start to have this conversation?
Well, you're right. There are a lot of people who have that lack of communication in their relationships, and you have to think about why. Some people are very fearful. They're afraid of rejection. They don't know how to express their ideas. They're holding on to past baggage where they were hurt when they expressed themselves. But what we do know is if you have a lack of communication in your life, you're always going to feel stressed and unbalanced because you're always going into situations where you've internalized how you felt. So if you're going to a job that you're unhappy about, but you've never talked to your boss or supervisor to get your raise, to get the proper review, you're going to go into work unhappy. And the same same with your relationship. If you go home every day and you're not expressing how you feel and you're holding on to anger, it's going to turn into jealousy, resentment, depression. So you really want to open up. And one of the most important things we know for families is to have that communication at dinner time. We're not always as concerned with the food. We want healthy food. But if, once a week you're going to bring in a pizza, but everybody's going to sit around the dinner table without technology and actually communicate to each other and do more than yes and no questions, you're going to have a better relationship. So it's really important, again, years before you retire, and for any marriage at any time frame of your life, is to really have that communication and discuss what's going on. And just remember these two things. The number one factor for depression is isolation and withdrawal. So that's why we worry about seniors when they retire, or moms when they become stay-at-home, or if you move to a new area, because you become isolated. The number one factor of happiness is socialization. And not only do you need that from outside sources, whether it's friends and family, but you need that from your spouses. People who are married tend to be happier as long as they're in a good marriage. If you're in a horrible marriage or an abusive marriage, that's a different situation. But people who are in a good marriage tend to be much happier because you have that support and that socialization. So it's great to retire with your partner or your spouse, but you really want to have that open line of communication. And if you're having a problem, again, doing it, I do suggest therapy, not because I'm a therapist, because therapy doesn't work for everybody. But again, it's a nice way to open up and be able to express yourself with a mediator and a non-judgmental person in the middle that can help you express how you're feeling and help you become more expressive. So really, communication is the number one factor you need in a relationship for it to work.
So it's
very important that you do that.
Let's just drill into this a little bit more, because I want to. We're nearing the end of our time, but I want people to walk away with a takeaway from this.
Sure.
Let's say that you're married 20, 30 years, and you're listening to the Goldstein on Gelt interview with Diane Lang, and you say, I really got to speak to my wife about what we're going to do next. But you just can't find the words. What would be the words you would suggest that someone, walk into the bedroom and say, sweetheart?
Well, honestly, I don't know if there's a right or a wrong way to approach it. I mean, a few things. One, watch your tone. You never want to come in sounding defensive or angry. You don't want to, come across like you're blaming someone. So always discuss a problem, not the person. So if you come in and you're worried about retirement, even if it's financial or health or what are we going to do with our lives, you want to come in, again, with a good tone and a good attitude because, again, emotions and moods are contagious. So if you come in very stressed out, your spouse is going to see it and become, immediately, defensive and, back themselves up against the wall like, what's going on here? So you want to come in with a smile. You want to come in and communicate with a good tone of voice, a good attitude. Again, discussing the problem, not the person, and always expressing using I. I feel this way because, I am worried about our retirement because, we haven't spent a lot of time together. Maybe we could sit down and discuss this. And again, doing it in a very calm environment, maybe while you're having dinner or sitting outside at a park, not coming in with an aggressive attitude. So really having that open communication. But again, you could also, talk about some fun things. What are we going to do when we retire? Maybe go on vacation. What's your idea of a vacation? What kind of volunteer work could we do together that could really help others? Because, again, every time we help others, one of the biggest things we promote in retirement is volunteer, because every time we pay it forward, do a random act of kindness, we get a boost of happiness. And if you could do it as a couple, you get to spend more quality time together, and you get to help others as helping yourself. So maybe you could discuss that, or maybe discuss, are we going to get to see the kids more often, the grandkids, maybe get a summer house or a second house near them, bring up some fun things. Just keep it very calm and keep it open. And again, don't blame the person. Just bring up the problem or the issue that you would like to discuss and watch your tone of voice and your nonverbals.
Okay, Diane Lang, this sounds like fabulous advice. Like we got fabulous advice from you last time. For those people who missed download the podcast at GoldsteinOnGelt.com or simply go to YouTube, look up Goldstein on Gelt, and you'll find Diane's previous interview and this one there coming up pretty soon. Diane Lang, thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to the Goldstein on Gelt Show with money maven Doug Goldstein. Doug's weekly radio show is heard around the world, but if you miss it, you can download the podcast at www.goldsteinongelt.com. The Goldstein on Gelt Show gives you up-to-date financial ideas so you can get on the path to financial freedom. If you'd like your questions answered on the air or off, send Doug an email to doug@profile-financial.com. It's your money for your future, so join Doug every week to build your wealth on the Goldstein on Gelt Show.